About 20 years ago, Nokia 3310, Sony Ericsson, and such nondescript computers and laptops were considered as the pinnacle of development. Today it's an iPhone, tablets, Apple Watch, wireless headphones, and a lot of everything. Time is accelerating faster and faster every second, even now, while you're watching this video. And behind this worldwide progress in toys and the phone, such a small thing, a chip, which you can find in every modern electronic device. It's funny to realize the little chip made a huge breakthrough in development and I would say even a revolution. We can endlessly count or burn calories right on the watch, see how many steps we did. No, let's be serious. Now we can create cool cars that will even fly through the air. It'll be easier for the police to catch the villains, we'll fly into the space to explore new planets. Stop. All this stuff is good, but it seems a new stage of evolution is being postponed due to the lack of these chips. In this video, I'll talk about the revolution that this little detail has made. I'll tell you how these chips are changing our familiar world right now, how they stir up a war that we don't see, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And the main question is, what future awaits us? Yeah, there are a lot of questions. Let's figure it out. Before I start, I want to say thank you for watching my videos. Don't forget to subscribe, press the like button and do any activity below my videos. Just any. Well, enjoy watching. This is the first chip in the world by American engineers. Yes, that's how history began. Before this chip, computers weren't even computers. They could take up an entire room and weigh 30 tons. And you still complain about the constantly tangled wiring behind the system unit. Tangled wires weren't such a big problem. Like I said, it was a device the size of an entire room, which couldn't even transmit data normally. And so two scientists decided that this huge structure could be smaller, and then a plate with transistors appeared, which worked exactly like human brain or nervous system, passing signals. However, the problem was that such chips were made of ceramic. The process was very long and inconvenient. And then the scientists decided, what if we use silicon? It's a good semiconductor, there's lots of it in the ground, and it's not difficult to extract it at all. And here it is, the first silicon chip. Well, now it's time for home computers and video games. Not exactly. I think some of you have heard the idea that all those miracles of electronics that we use now, all these technologies were available to mankind at least a decade ago. But the elite decides when to release these technologies into the masses. Of course, everyone knew about the invention of the chip. No one hid it. They just started using it in military technologies at first. Thus began the manufacture of all kinds of weapons, NASA researches, and even flight to the moon. After a while, the US government decided that, in theory, they could make good money on these chips, and then the chip just busted in people's ordinary life, in various devices and home computers, which didn't take the whole room. And if you want to get real profit of it, inexpensive labor is needed. And then the chip factories moved from the US to Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and Hong Kong. Now they were allies of the US, but sharing technology with the enemies of America, the USSR and China, were forbidden. Thanks to this advance in technologies, the United States has pulled ahead of almost all countries in the world. But Japan, South Korea didn't want to stand aside and decided to build their own electronic factories. Toshiba in Japan, Samsung in South Korea, and in Taiwan, a well-known chip company TSMC. These companies were selling chips cheaper and even better quality than American companies. By the way, if you didn't know, the production of chips is such a headache. The first thing is, the chips get smaller and smaller. But the biggest problem is, if the smallest dust gets on them, it's fatal. Chips can be taken to the trash. As you already understood, maintaining such production costs a lot of money. And the United States decided, the technologies are ours, but the production will completely transfer to other countries. So it happened that all the production of chips were concentrated in one place, Taiwan, which is actually not very good, considering that there is a very unfriendly neighbor nearby, China, who didn't get along with the US and wanted Taiwan back. But in the 90s, the situation a little changed. The Cold War between the USSR and the US ended, and relations between America and China became warmer. Sort of. For a long time, China wanted to get into the stream of chip production. And finally, some of these factories moved to China. And by the 2000s, China began to lead and break sales records. But China wanted to be an independent chip manufacturer. And how can you compete with the USA if you make products at American factories? Agree, it's kind of stupid. Then the Chinese government decided they must build their own factories. They built it, started production, and the quality turned out to be so-so. Because more than one country worked on the creation of chips. The US was responsible for the hardware, software, and design. Japan mined metals and all sorts of chemicals. In the Netherlands, ASML made laser machines to cut chips like cakes. Insanely expensive $20,000 cakes. And all this for making chips in Taiwan. China didn't have all that, and it would seem the struggle for world supremacy was lost. So it would be. But in 2019, Zhang Chengyu, an engineer from ASML company, stole the technology and fled to China. But it wasn't a long-awaited success. The US wasn't going to put up with it. Relations between the two competing countries became even more tense. The most interesting thing is that now it all comes down to Taiwan. This is where the US produces the chips, and China wants to return this territory and slowly activates its force. And it's not even about territory. Taiwan compared to China, see for yourself. First of all, for China, this is money, advanced technologies that literally slip out of their hands. And so China decided it's necessary to act, but little by little. Warships near Taiwan, flying fighter jets, and drones. To such actions, the United States declared that it would stand up for Taiwan if necessary. One gets the impression that just in the middle of this war, problems will begin. But even without China's invasion of Taiwan, there is already a shortage of chips. The production of computers and various devices grew every year, but the pace was predictable and production was planned to increase smoothly. But the coronavirus corrected the situation, and not for the better. The demand for electronic devices has grown at an incredible rate. Production was increased in all possible ways, especially since they began to earn even more on this. Now it was necessary to produce more and more chips. But here's the thing. It takes at least 3 years and billions of dollars to build, launch, and manufacture chips from scratch, even under the most favorable conditions. So it turns out that there is a demand, but there is not enough of product. By the beginning of 2021, the shortage of chips in the world market was about 30%. But not only China is threatening the chip industry. The island has been hit by a changing climate. Rivers began to dry up and water supplies in the reservoirs came to an end. And microchip factories require huge amounts of ultra-pure water. Then it was enough, now not much. Therefore, TSMC has already announced the construction of a new plant for the chips production in Arizona. Europe also doesn't stand aside and wants to join the construction of factories. Intel and TSMC want to build their factories in Germany. India, which has its own powerful IT sphere. To attract chip manufacturers to the country, the government allocated $11 billion. They're very determined. Just don't think that countries are concerned about the crisis. Partly, yes. The main thing is, the world is accelerating every day. Every day something is invented, and microchips help in all these developments and still make revolution today. The sooner a country starts producing good chips, the sooner it'll take over the food chain. Everything's like in the wild world. Therefore, not starting such developments means a lag behind in development from other countries for many years. To be honest, I don't have so wide perspective and I'm not sure how it'll affect in our world. But if you have a little imagination, I think this rush for chips will get slower. And there will appear more chips, more computers, and maybe new interesting devices. We can only guess. Because when you're sure about something, suddenly everything changes. But I'm sure about one thing. It's not enough just to have a lot of money to be the most powerful in the world. Today, influence is also about technologies. They help to create new weapons, powerful computers for international intelligence, and explore space. And whoever has these technologies owns the world. When you look at the whole situation in general, it seems that everything's so confusing. However, it's actually quite simple. Countries in pursuit of superiority, and the clear leaders definitely don't want to give up their place to someone else. I'd like all countries to pull together and develop for the common good. But just tell me, has it ever happened? Thank you for watching to the end. It would mean so much for me if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends, write comments, I'll be glad of your activity. See you in the next video. Bye!